the next promotion, or it may come at the risk of you being called the B word, whatever it be.
Oh, I love that. You call me a bitch any day. What I learned was it's okay to be a bitch.
Exactly, exactly.
It's okay.
You
I
take
mean,
pride in being
within
the bitch.
your limits, of course, you shouldn't just be nasty,
Yes.
but it's okay to put your foot down and be a bitch.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And say, I am the bitch, yeah, now deal with me, exactly. Yeah, so I think there is no other way but to talk about it.
And I think just to add to what these girls have said, it's very important for us to also develop the right talent. So we don't really understand it, but there are a lot of women at the junior levels who are actually looking up to us.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
And so what you do, how you conduct yourself, all the subtle hints you're giving out is something which you don't realize, but that's what's happening. So if they see you down and out after a meeting, and then they see you, okay, buckle up and say, okay, I'm going to get my groove back. They know that, this is how things need to be handled, and it's really how this woman is doing it, and this is how she's done it for the last 20 years or whatever, and this is how it works. So that, and then secondly, picking up people in your team, outside the team, to just have informal conversations, just kind of mentoring conversations with them, saying that, I saw you do this, I think that was good, keep up to it, stick your grounds, because that's the way we are actually making sure that there are going to be more like us as we go forward, right? Like there are obviously lesser percentage gaps now versus maybe 20 years ago, maybe versus 40 years ago. So maybe the next 20 years, you know that these are the people who've just entered the career, and these are the women you need to take care of, and just be that kind of a mother hen at times.
Yeah,
but just
absolutely.
make sure that they are protected and they know that they are doing right.
Right. No, that's very interesting. I truly believe that no conversation on gender discrimination would be complete without kind of dealing with the elephant in the room, which is pregnancy. And it's funny because, you see this pretty much daily at corporates, where the perception that they try and put out is they're very friendly. We celebrate pregnancy, we're going to support you completely. But what follows behind closed doors is hushed conversations. What follows behind closed doors is, jokes about pregnancy, about the fact that there's going to be vacuum at work, about the fact that she's never going to be the same. Is that really true? Because I've seen this in media setups. I've seen this in very, very large media setups. And is that very limiting? And how do you kind of bring about a change to that kind of perception? And Sunny, this is very true for the movie industry as well, because we've seen this extremely prevalent in the movie industry, where you've had, the yesteryear actresses who've become absolutely redundant after having a child. Now, the question that arises is, was it lack of evolution at the producer's end or the audience's end? And I would like to believe that it's the former. It's not the audience which is less accepting, it's the producer who's less accepting. And that is what kind of, in some sense, I mean, if I can say it, drives, it kind of gets my goal, because I'm like, how does that change what you feel or how passionately you feel about your work? I've seen mothers to kind of become even more task-oriented, to become even more efficient, because they're multitasking at all points. But do you see that? Do you see that dynamic play out in the corporate world? Because I see it all the time. And do you see that dynamic play out in the movie industry as well?
Well, I think in the entertainment industry, I think everybody here can agree with me, is we are seeing a shift in this idea of having children and being able to work. Kareena Kapoor is a perfect example of that, where she is unstoppable. She's so amazing, and she works so hard, and she's still going at it. She's got herself back in shape to what she wants, and still has that drive and determination to keep working, which I think is absolutely amazing, and we should applaud her for that. And not taking those stereotypes and, kind of going to the wayside. I'm so happy she didn't do that. I am a different case and matter, because I just don't care what people think, and I'm not, I wasn't born and raised here. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that my whole system and makeup and how I think is completely different. For me, I chose surrogacy and I chose adoption because I wanted to keep going and I wanted to keep working, and that was my own personal choice. I thought I was gonna have one, I had three. That I wasn't planning on. But it's God's plan. Not my plan. That's God's plan. But I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything. My life is crazy, and my children were very upset that I was leaving the house today, and it broke my heart. But I wanted to be here, and I want to do this just as much as I want to see them. And I believe that I'm a better mother if I'm working and providing for my children than if I'm a stay-at-home mother. I'm not saying that being a stay-at-home mother is wrong. I'm saying God bless you for being the stay-at-home mother. But I feel that I'm a better person, I'm a better mother, I'm a better human being working than not working. And I think that my children will thank me one day for working.
Completely, absolutely.
You know, in the corporate world, while, like you said, all the sound bites might all be right in terms of what one gets to hear from HR or from bosses on supporting working mothers or pregnancy, etc. But you know, the lack of support you face sometimes in just the sometimes callous attitude or the lack of planning that one faces in helping women come back after having a baby. Like this I experienced. Once you've had a baby and you go away on maternity leave, then it's really like you've been thrown off the ship. You know, you don't really know if I have the job back. Am I going to be taken care of? You know, will I have the same boss? Do bosses still love me? Does the company still remember I exist? You know, a lot of that insecurity, a lot of us working women, when we've had babies, have had to go through. And I think one of the simple ways of supporting mums would just be to have decent planning. So you know, after I've had a baby, what job am I coming back to?
So do you think that it's that the planning comes from the mother or it comes from the job? Who does that planning? I don't know anything about the rules and regulations.
No,
here.
it should. The planning should be at the corporate's end. It should be your bosses. It should be HR that takes on the onus of making sure that you come back to a position where you're able to give back, you know, where you're able to perform, where you're able to deliver. But more often than not, the responsibility falls on the mom. In the sense, you know, even with me, I had to go knocking from door to door to say, hey, I'm now available, you know.
So I just have a question to
Yeah,
clarify
sure.
for me. So when a woman here takes maternity leave, do you just disappear or do you keep in contact with everybody or do you work from home a little bit? How does that work?
No, so you disappear in the sense that you are, you know, entirely with your baby. You may wish to keep in touch with the office, and you may even wish to continue being in touch with work. But the problem is that the office is viewing you as a sunk investment. The office is looking at you and saying, oh, she's gone away for 3 months, or she's gone away for 6 months. And, you know, in these 6 months, in any case, we need to hire either a temp resource or we need to bring in someone as a replacement. And when we bring in this person as a replacement, then what are we going to do with her? You know, or she should be comfortable taking a setback in her career. She should be comfortable getting a promotion now 2 years later because she's chosen to have a baby. So she's not going to be as productive.
Yeah,
How
and
long
give
is
smaller-
maternity leave?
So, yeah, sorry.
How long is maternity leave?
6
here?
months.
6
Really?
months if you have a generous organization.
That's amazing.
No, but I believe the government
I
has...
wish I could take 6 months off my job.
No, that's
That's
coming from the
amazing.
government recently, Sunny. I mean, it used to be 3 months earlier. The government is now...
In America, I think
Yes.
it's like, I think it's 2 to 3 months only.
Yeah, so the government has now mandated most organizations to try and give 6 months of paid leave, which has come as a mandate now. So that's a good thing, I believe.
UK is 1 year, I think.
Is it?
Yeah,
I'm not aware of
UK
that.
or the Nordics, there's 1 year.
Yeah, even I think 6 months is too less. I mean, because when, you know, you're dealing with how you're looking and you're dealing with everything that's changing inside you, and then there's a little baby. So between the physical and the emotional bit, there's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with.
Right. So then, if you had an employee that came to you right now and said, I'm pregnant and in a few months I'm going to have a baby, what is your plan? What would your plan be for her?
I think I would figure, I mean, one has to discuss when are you coming back to work.
6
And-
months later.
Yeah, so 6 months later, if you're coming back to work 6 months later, one has to plan in the interim, what am I going to do? Alternatively, I then decide that this job, which you were doing until now, I give to someone else, and you're going to come back to another job where we feel you'd be better placed to perform better.
But
and
what if
it's gonna
she
be a
wanted her
win-win.
old job back, but she's disappeared for 6 months? Then what?
Then you have to find the replacement. You know, you have to plan for that. I mean, one doesn't announce pregnancy overnight. You know, there are 9 months until you actually go away. So in those 9 months, it's more than enough time for manager and subordinate to be able to plan and figure what are we going to do in those 6 months.
Sorry, we're just out of time.
Yeah.
One last question that I want to conclude this with. Do you guys really feel that women make better bosses and better leaders, considering the fact that they tend to take a more holistic approach to leadership, to people management? And I mean, yeah, so would love to kind of understand your perspective in that.
I don't think we make better leaders or worse leaders. I think I've seen terrible women leaders and I've seen amazingly inspiring women leaders, and the same goes for men. But the question is, sometimes men answer that differently. So I don't think I think leadership is such a personal thing. You could be a leader that's more aggressive, and that could be male or female. You could be a leader that's a lot more sort of calming and logical and sort of takes decisions with a lot more thought. You could be somebody that's sort of playing on the front foot. But that's got nothing to do with gender, and I think that's the perception that we need to change. And I don't think it's a competition about women are better or men are better. It's about all of us collectively being able to grow together with whatever traits we have as individuals, not based on gender.
So my view is women definitely make better leaders, and women definitely make better leaders because of the people that we are, because of the way we are raised, and because of the way we are fundamentally wired. I think in today's organizations, there is no choice but to have to work with people. It's not even so much about competence functionally as it is about being able to work with people and being able to get the best from people, from having a diverse team and being able to get the best from a diverse team. And I think women win over men hands down. There might be exceptions, but I think by and large, I would certainly argue that for all the traits that women have, they make far better leaders than men. The problem is we don't have enough women leaders.
Sunny, you have a viewpoint on that?
I agree with it's not about gender. I do believe that every single office is very, very different. Every job is different. The requirements are different. If you asked me to be a fireman, I'm sorry, I just could not do that. But if you asked me to...
It's been proven that even women commandos make better commandos as teams than men commandos. It's been proven in research, and it's been proven actually in live demos. So, you know, women could make far better firemen too. It's just that we don't have women firemen. Fire women, exactly.
Right. My biggest... Yes. My biggest issue sometimes, and this is from my own perspective, is women out there sometimes end up being the biggest people who are against everything, who say the most nastiest things that a man would never dream about saying. I'll go to a press conference and the most obnoxious things will come out of a woman's mouth. And I want to say, where are you from? Because I have no idea why you would ask questions like these that are so demeaning, that are so disrespectful in every way. I find that sometimes that happens more from women than it does from men. Maybe I have no idea where that comes from. But that's just my own perspective. And as far as leadership goes, I think that women who are amazing leaders, they're just amazing. You can't beat them. But if there are men that are just as good, that are open, like Hauterfly, like you're amazing. Your company has all these women work. They come into my office, and it's all women, except for one gentleman who didn't speak at all, who comes into I don't know if he's here or not, but
he's here, he's
oh,
here.
he's still not talking. Please
Yeah,
stop talking
he's a
wherever
silent
you
spectator.
are. Just stop talking because you talk too much. But I do think that there are male leaders out there like yourself who are embracing the idea of women voicing their opinions and doing things that they want and being able to talk about subjects and bringing the four of us on stage with you to talk about some of these extremely important issues. So I do think that there's a shift happening. So whether it's a male leader or a female leader, to me they fall into the same category.
Fantastic.
I just
Wow.
want to say thank you
Thank
for
you.
making me a
thank
part
you
of Hauterfly.
That's
Okay.
lovely. Thank you, Sunny.
So I would kind of agree with Vani on this, and I think maybe we are more battle wounded than the other women here. But it's. I mean, of course, there are leaders and there are people who look up to both men and women. What I just feel slightly is that women are far more empathetic and they try to build a team better, whereas a guy would be slightly more self-focused and he would have all the odds working for him versus women have to fight against the odds, take care of a team and make sure that, somewhere you also fight the self-doubt you have, fight your own confidence issues, things happening at home, pregnancy-related breaks, everything that we've talked about. And just, be there that, okay, I have been able to do what I am and what I am doing right now in spite of everything. And so, you tend to look at what are the positives in the person and try to really build that up. And I think the mentoring, coaching kind of mindset women have just works better in actually making the entire team come up than maybe a men team would be there. So I know you've got an A team here, but it's like, again, it's a collective effort
I
which is
completely
there.
agree. I absolutely
versus
agree
if
with
I'm
that.
just talking about individuals, and I would say that individual A versus individual B, if you see their stories, if you look at the life journeys, you will understand that the gender neutrality doesn't really work.
I really want to work for you one day because you seem like you would be the nicest boss. The nicest boss. She'd be like,
I think
okay.
we all want to work with her. I would agree
Yeah,
to that.
I would vouch for that, having worked with Bhavna.
See,
Not
I was
directly,
right.
but for sure.
No, this has been great, ladies. Thank you so much. I think this has been a really fruitful discussion and a very insightful discussion. Can you have a big round of applause for all the panelists here, please, guys? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Sunny solo. Sunny solo.
Summer and Sunny in a picture.
Thank you.
Sunny solo picture.
Thank you. Done? Sunny solo.
Sunny solo pictures.
Look center.
Sunny over here.
रुक जाओ.
Sunny over here. Sunny.
नीचे बढ़. Look center.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. It really means a lot. Hi, how are you? Good, nice to see you. The association is absolutely amazing. I think that when you can have an association with a company and be able to be on the same page and have the same concerns and be able to be open to suggestions or different ideas. As most people must know, I'm pretty opinionated, and it's even though I'd like it to be my way or the highway, I know that that can't happen, and it has to be a give and take. And I think that everything that we've shot so far has been something that we've agreed on, that it should feel like we're making great content, and I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Sunny, how do you feel you are good in business? Like working as a businesswoman, how do you handle your business?
I think every company is different, and both Daniel and I have a no bullshit approach for a lot of different things. Everything's pretty black and white, straightforward. We don't believe in the idea of making people run around in circles. I think our deal is pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they usually are. And as far as our employees go and everybody, we just believe that everybody should work hard. And I know what I put into my day, and I expect the same thing from my employees, and that's it.
सनी लास्ट क्वेश्चन दूसरे डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म से या कोई भी विमेंस वेब मैगजीन्स हमेशा से रही है तो एज एन इन्वेस्टर व्हाट आर यू एडिंग जो पहले किसी मैगजीन या किसी डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म में नहीं हुआ
I don't think it's about what somebody's done or what somebody hasn't done. I think this is about taking ideas that maybe have been spoken about before and giving it our own spin, our own thought, my own opinion of those things, and their statistics and their opinions of how it should be shot and things that we should talk about. I believe that the biggest thing for myself was that it should feel real. It should feel like if anybody could go out and do the things that we're talking about, and or providing the steps of how that woman can accomplish these things.
Sunny, we're talking about Bollywood, like you're talking about equality, like maybe we're talking about gender equality. In Bollywood, do you feel the actors, has that kind of a equality, like in compared to the hero?
Well, I think that each actor is different. I do believe that there are differences. As far as myself goes, I can only speak about my own experiences and what I've gone through, and it's not been easy. I've had to create my own path, and my team and Daniel and everybody, we have to fight tooth and nail to do everything that we want to. Do I have the best of lineup when I have a film coming out? Do I work with those big A-list actors? No, but I create my own path and I make my own decisions, and I'm happy for that. And I'm happy that I'm able to do things my way, and which is the most important to me. No one's telling me what to do, and I like that.
Okay, Sunny, as you have talked about the
Sunny, one last question.
last
Sunny days
question.
a year, what do you do to beat the sun?
Wait, what?
Sunny days, I mean to say it's hot out.
It's hot outside.
Last question, guys.
What am I doing to beat the sun? I don't know. I'm going to Rajasthan for a month. I'm going to be in the sun every single day. That's going to be a very good question. But if I had to say something, it would be coconut water. It would be a lot of light food, not fried stuff, and light clothing, nothing too heavy, and that would be really uncomfortable. That'd be it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.